has not only studied nonprofits, he actually lives it. He's a chair at the Palms Neighborhood Council, and he is here today to talk about nonprofit sustainability.
Good morning.
Good morning.
My name is Neal Anderberg. I am a Los Angeles native. I work with a company called Stratoscope. We help impact makers from public benefit entities, whether it's the for-profit sector, the nonprofit sector, or the government sector, make a bigger impact to be more efficient doing so. And I'm teaching over at Mount St. Mary's University here in downtown in the business department as well. I say that because I've spent a little time in business school. I've done it twice. I'm in it now, and if there's any takeaway from business school that I want to leave you with, it's the idea that you will have a tremendous amount of debt. And as a result, you're probably going to think about while you're in school and on your way out of it, about how to get out of that debt. So it's no surprise then that what you're going to see is a lot of business school graduates moving into fields where you can make that money back as quickly as possible. Unfortunately, for better or for worse, really, but you can make the decision at the end of this speech. For better or for worse, I went to an all-boys Jesuit high school, and that instilled in me a sense of social justice, community service, a man for others mentality, if you will. And so I didn't go into a field where you make that money back really quick, even though I dabbled in PR and advertising for a while, but I couldn't take it. So I started wondering why that business acumen that you learn in all of these courses here that go into a business degree, why you don't see that in the nonprofit sector. And you have to wonder, nonprofit organizations are really businesses too. You need all of those skill sets that you learn in business school to run any organization, whether it's a for-profit or a nonprofit. But in all my time volunteering and working for nonprofits and things, I really came to the conclusion that that business acumen was mysteriously missing. So I wanted to fix that, but really quickly I need to give you a brief history of the human race so you really understand why this is important. Now, in the history of humanity, when we decide how we're going to save the least fortunate among us, how we're going to deliver social services and not leave anybody behind, and, rally behind the cause, the money, the effort, the time, the energy that goes into those things comes from government and it comes from religion, okay? So over the course of thousands of years, this is how we've chosen to solve these issues, through an organizational structure. Sure, you and I can walk down the street and hand out $5 to someone that needs it, but organizationally speaking, this is typically how it's been done. Now, we live in a very special age, an age in which we can start our own businesses, where we're empowered to do certain things, but this is all a work in progress. Never forget that. Capitalism, democracy, we're working out the kinks every single day. And I bring these two particular pictures into this for two reasons. So the first is on your left there, that's Mohamed Bouazizi. So he was the guy that lit himself on fire in protest of his government in Tunisia starting the Arab Spring. I want to point out how important that is to humanity, because it's not to be taken for granted that we can start our own businesses. He was trying to do a fruit cart or some kind of street vending and felt like he wasn't empowered to do so in the right way. The government was holding him back from this. We take that for granted here, that we can do that. And I mentioned this in a class of mine recently, and a student said, whoa, it's not so easy to start a business here in the United States either. Fair point. So understand that capitalism as we know it is still working itself out. Otherwise, we wouldn't have had a Wall Street bailout, we wouldn't have had an auto industry bailout. We're still making the rules as we go. Okay, so if capitalism is a work in progress, democracy is a work in progress, it should be no surprise whatsoever that the nonprofit sector, which I've been frustrated with for years, and many of you I'm sure have been as well, seeing organizations doing good things but struggling to stay afloat, that those nonprofit organizations are also struggling, because the nonprofit sector hasn't been around very long. And it is definitely not perfect. I understand that the slide on the left is for a very niche audience that even remembers that gentleman. But the nonprofit sector plays a critical role in the society that we live in today. This idea of big government versus small government, the nonprofit sector plays a linchpin. If we don't have a functioning secular delivery of nonprofit services, of these social services, then you're looking at a government that's going to provide all that. And that's the big government that we don't want, because we don't want to pay taxes, and socialism's a bad word in this country. But then if we have a small government, and if we have a small government, then we don't pay the taxes, right? And we're happy about that, but then a whole bunch of people get left behind. A whole bunch of causes get neglected. So the nonprofit sector running as efficiently as possible is in all of our best interests, so that there's a balance between big government and small government. Now, I spent a lot of years wondering why the nonprofit sector wasn't getting the attention and getting the business acumen that it deserved, so I started going to every seminar, workshop, conference I possibly could to learn what it is that nonprofit executives are learning. Where are they getting their information, and who's giving it to them? Because I don't see them in business school. So they tell you a few things at every single one, and in 15 years running, it hasn't really changed. And one of the first things they tell you as a nonprofit executive is you got to tell your story. You got to really know, you got to be passionate about what you're trying to do. You got to let other people understand why it's really important to you to save puppies in the street. And so you got to have this heartwarming, pulling at the heartstrings type of story that really resonates with everybody. But there are issues with that, and they also tell you to get your board on board. Every nonprofit organization has to have a board of directors, and if they're not fighting the good fight with you, you got to fix that. They also tell you to plan an event. One time, get the attention that you need from the media, you get all your supporters out there to rally behind your cause, you raise a bunch of money, and then you can go on for the rest of the year and continue doing the good work that you're actually meant to be doing. And then they tell you to focus on bequests. Never forget that there are people dying every single day, and they can't spend that money in heaven. So get it. Have them sign it over to you. And this is how we're going to target how to do that and make that pitch. Planned giving is a huge thing. All these seminars, workshops being run by foundations and even government programs and things to teach nonprofit executives how to do their business more effectively, they tell you to look at these bullet points and focus on those things. But here's a problem. Telling a good story is great, and all these points, absolutely fantastic and dead on. But if you don't have the right audience to tell your story to, and you don't know how to get the people in the room to listen to your heartwarming story, you got a serious issue. I don't care how great your story is, if it's just you telling it to yourself, we're gonna have to fix something. But they don't necessarily tell you how to get the right audience at these seminars and workshops and conferences. They don't tell you that, especially because you want to tell that story to people that have money to make your organization run, how you get in front of those people. Getting your board on board is easier said than done as well. You got a nonprofit board. At all of those workshops, they imagine that your board looks like this. Why isn't the CEO of Pepsi that sits on your board giving as much money as they can and getting all their rich friends to do that? Oh, that's because the CEO of Pepsi is not on my board. My board is a bunch of my college friends and family that supported my effort to start a nonprofit organization so that I could save the world, and they believed in my passion and enthusiasm. So how do you get the right people on your board? The workshops, conferences, and seminars don't tell you that. So planning an event, guess what? Your nonprofit organization is likely not an event planning organization. You probably don't have a full staff of people that know how to go out and get the sponsorship, that know the difference between like table settings and how to get balances in these gala rooms. You don't want your nonprofit organization to continue to waste their time planning golf tournaments and listing bid items for silent auctions. That's not the purpose of your organization, and you're going to find yourself spinning a lot of wheels, wasting a lot of time and a lot of energy planning an event with no guarantee on return. Who's going to show up at your event? If you had that audience, you'd probably be milking them for money already and don't need to have an event and make that your prime focus, right? Bequests and planned giving. If you didn't know the rich people to be on your board, how are they going to sign anything over to you when they die? Plus, it sniffs to high heaven that you're going to go over there when you find some rich person on their deathbed and try and convince them if your cause is worthy of leaving their money to you. That really sucks, don't do it. So, this is the pie mentioned in my opening screen. I will point you to this large slice of the pie. It says individuals. Now you have to keep in mind that the nonprofit sector operates 358 plus billion in contributions each year. Okay, 72% of that comes from individuals. It's no wonder that the workshops, the seminars, the conferences, they tell you as a nonprofit executive, you need to target the individuals. That's where the money is. And so all of the nonprofit organizations are doing that. My advice to you is don't forget about the smaller slivers. Look how much money is in corporations, $17 billion. That's a lot of money. Don't neglect it. Keep that in mind when you're looking at that big slice of the pie. That means that there is competition. Make no mistake, just like the for-profit sector, nonprofits are in competition with each other for that money. Okay, so if you have competition in this marketplace, recognize what you're up against. There are over 1.5 million organizations, nonprofit organizations in the United States. That's how much money is coming in for them to split up, and know that 2.25% of all nonprofits account for 90% of total revenue, leaving the bulk majority of our nonprofits out there fighting for a lot less money. All right, and we're still talking about that big slice of the pie. All of those people, all of those organizations getting that money have a hard time making those individuals give the money back to them again the next year. A really hard time. This is a famous Greek philosopher named Mitch Hedberg, and I should probably not read that out loud, but suffice to say, it's ingrained in our culture that we take for granted the amount of money that individuals want to give to charity as being a really low amount. If I come across $1 million, the chances that I'm giving $1 million to a nonprofit cause are pretty slim. I just mentioned to you I have a lot of business loans that I got to take care of for my education, right? So if individuals are only giving away something like 2%, and everybody's fighting that 2%, and there's no guarantee I get that money from those individuals the next year, I'm in a really difficult situation. So I say to you this, focus on the 5% slice. The 5% slice is with corporations, the business sector. The business sector is not running out of money. There is money to be had. And make no mistake, the 5% piece of the pie can get bigger. You're not stuck with that number. And the only reason that there's $17 billion being pumped into the nonprofit sector is that there's not enough nonprofits knocking on the door to get that money in the right way. Now, if you run a business, and I assume that most of you are running for-profit businesses, not nonprofit businesses, then the bottom line for you is making money. If the bottom line for you is making money, then what does it do to you that a nonprofit organization comes to you and asks for money? That's the opposite of what you're trying to do with a for-profit business. So nonprofits need to rethink what they're doing, and I say to start by focusing on your brand. You focus on your brand, you get a good logo. It sounds cliche. Seriously, get a good brand and get out there and market yourself. In this way, your nonprofit looks like a business and not an alms charity. Okay? It looks sad when you go around begging for money all the time. It sounds like you don't have your act together, and a lot of nonprofits don't. So the way that you fix this is you develop marketing opportunities for for-profit businesses. That sounds strange to nonprofit executives. Why would I be doing that? Well, I'm in the business of saving lives. I'm in the business of getting puppies off the street and making sure that the hungry are fed. The fact of the matter is, all of these companies have a bottom line that's not yours. And I don't care how compelling your story is and how many hungry people are out there or how many puppies need to be saved. You can't have that conversation with them unless they have so much money that they're willing to cut off a slice each year, and that's no guarantee. But if you talk to the brands, you talk to the businesses and get them to understand that you have assets that they want to be a part of. You've got an audience that they may not have. You might have a venue. You might have something that these companies want to be a part of. Maybe you've got some media exposure that they don't have. Lord knows they've got the media exposure you don't have. Figure out a way to talk to the business sector. Think the way they think. Partner with them. Maybe you'll figure out a way that your board of directors will end up looking like this. Because Lord knows if you're partnering with companies and they realize that you're actually doing good work, then you're gonna have some interested individuals in positions where they can come and sit on your board and we'll fix the problem that I just told you about before. Your galas, no problem with attendance then. You've been working with businesses for a while. Think the way that they think. Okay, everything is a marketing expenditure. And plus points with the nonprofit sector. If you have a nonprofit organization and you create a marketing opportunity for a business to sponsor something, they've got two pools to come from. You look at your corporate social responsibility package, corporations are looking to get their name out there like they care about the earth. They care about the little guy. They care about the environment, whatever it is. Pull from that budget, the budget where they throw it away and don't expect it back. But go after the budget where they want a return on that investment. Their marketing budget is where you tackle them. And that is the slice of the pie that is not tackled by nonprofit organizations at all. Media exposure. Nonprofits don't ever have the media exposure they want. So they're gonna get their PSA at 3 o'clock in the morning because they think that's like the big win, by the way. The 3 o'clock in the morning PSA time slot is a huge win for a nonprofit organization. That's the saddest thing ever. Okay, we always complain that the media doesn't cover the positive story, right? Why not? There's no money in it. People don't care about it. But if you get the right partners on board, you've figured out a way to get those for-profit businesses on board, let them write the press release. You don't even need to figure out a way to get a PR person in your nonprofit. Partner with the right for-profit organizations. They've got PR people. They've got marketing departments. Let them contact the media people that you didn't know. They'll be your contacts later after you work this out. And then you can contact them later, but the media will cover your events. The media will cover your partnerships. The media wants to cover what the for-profits are doing. In the end, you want to be one of the nonprofits with a brand. If you're running a for-profit business and you think, I want to do something so everyone in the world knows that my for-profit business cares about the earth, that we care about the little guy, that we're doing good things in the world, am I going to partner with a small nonprofit with no name, with no audience? I don't know what I'm getting. It's just money into the wind. Or am I going to partner with a nonprofit organization that has a brand? I guarantee they've got their act together. I know that my for-profit business is going to look really good by partnering with this brand. Think about that. You want to be one of these nonprofit brands, and focusing on that small slice of the pie is the way to do it. Always remember that that small slice of the pie can only go up with the right focus, and the right focus just isn't happening right now. So stop focusing like all the other nonprofits by competing with each other in this slice. Go after the money over there, do it strategically, and it'll be for the long-term sustainability of your nonprofit organization. My name is Neal Anderberg. Thank you very much.
You're in year one of your nonprofit and you don't have any capital.
No capital. Sounds about right, yeah.
So how do you go and talk to CEO of Coca-Cola?
How do you what now?
How do you go talk to Coca-Cola?
You don't necessarily have to start with Coca-Cola. If you've got $0, I'm going to imagine that you're a local nonprofit servicing a local need, right? Hypothetically speaking. If you're focusing on a global need, focus on a company that has a global mission. If you're a smaller nonprofit, you've got $0 and you're focused in on, inner city youth or something like that in a neglected neighborhood, right? Focus in on the businesses that are operating in and around that community. There's still people there. There's an economic driver in every single community, right? So figure out who's taking advantage of that on the for-profit side of things. So there's a business out there making money in some way, and it's in their best interest that those people spending money on their businesses continue to have money that their community is sustained. So talk to them, get on their level. What's important to those businesses? And figure out how to get involved. One of the other things that I forgot to mention about servicing a local need like that is it's really hard to get the attention of the people with money if the people with money can't relate to the needs and causes that you're fighting for. So for example, I'm on the board of a nonprofit that does music and arts education in the inner city in South LA, right? The service recipients are predominantly Latino and African American. But you go to these workshops, these seminars, these conferences, and they tell you that you need to get so-and-so CEO, so-and-so on your board, and you get the rich people to come donate. The rich people aren't in South LA. So, and they may not be Latino and African American. So what do they care? It's not the first priority to them to focus in on giving their money to an organization like that. It's a much harder slog depending on how niche your market is as a nonprofit organization. But you don't have to shoot for the stars immediately. There are other businesses, there are other entities in and around where your service area is that you can focus on and have that conversation. So you can start small. There's still money. All of that is still in that little sliver of corporations and foundations. You don't have to go straight to Coca-Cola.
Thank you.
Are there other questions? Yeah?
How do you suggest that nonprofits consider and balance ethics and values in relationships with large corporations that may be engaging behavior?
Can you repeat the question?
So do I want Camel Cigarettes to sponsor my gala? Is that what you're saying? Yeah, well, every nonprofit has to make those decisions for themselves. Like, how much are you willing to sell out, right? You know, and I can't answer that for every nonprofit. There is a PR disaster waiting to happen, you know, if you're willing to go that far. But lots of times, you'll find, just inherently speaking, that your nonprofit organization has a mission that's contrary to that, and it's easy to make those decisions and cut that out. You know, you have to be true to your mission when it boils down. And there are enough for-profit businesses out there, there's enough money floating around to go toward the good fight coming from an angle that's not, you know, detrimental to the rest of society. So it's out there, and you have to be strong enough to turn away the money, no matter how attractive it is. Thank you.